Am I the jerk for delaying my in-laws' visit for one day? I am a 35-year-old female, and my boyfriend, who is 30 years old, and I've been together for 8 years. We recently bought a new house. We live near my family and 10 hours away from his family. We see his family twice a year, but my mother-in-law often cries on the phone because her son is so far away. I do not have a great relationship with my in-laws. They are quite intrusive in their son's life. They have strong ideas of how things should be done and think they know better than anyone. My mother-in-law also has the habit of making hurtful comments. If I react, she pretends it was just a joke. Although I am biased, I try to make it work for my boyfriend's sake because he loves them very much. We recently moved into our new house, and his parents wanted to come and help. I felt uncomfortable because every time they visit, my mother-in-law takes it upon herself to clean and tidy our apartment. We are both messy and have fallen behind in our chores multiple times. I can understand this, even if I do not approve of her feeling entitled to do as she pleases. I was worried that she would decide where things should go in our new house. So I asked that they not come, and they were understandably upset about it. She called her son crying multiple times, insisting on coming and saying that I did not want her there. It was a bit true, but isn't it my right to move into my new house without unnecessary stress? We moved a month ago, and in a week they are supposed to visit for 10 days. I just learned that my boyfriend will be working that night, so I will be alone to greet them after my day of work and collect all the potential comments about what we did wrong. I asked my boyfriend if they could come a day later because it would be more convenient for us, as he will be there to show them around the house. He told them on the phone, and they got very upset. My mother-in-law cried on the phone, saying we do not want to see them and that it is my fault. I feel like they are overreacting. They ended up having a pretty bad argument on the phone because apparently she often talks about me, complaining that I never call her, implying that the money I ask of him every month to pay his share of our rent is suspicious, and falsely stating that I decided everything in our new house. At the end, she hung up on him with the threat that they would not come at all. I offered my boyfriend to call her back tomorrow once she calmed down. I will not grovel and beg for her to come either, but I do not want my boyfriend to be hurt if they do not come at all. I feel guilty that they argued so badly on the phone because I wanted to postpone for one day. We even offered to pay for a hotel for them for the night so that they could still leave when they planned to, but they refused. I am upset but not surprised to learn what she has been saying behind my back. I know she sees me as an adversary, a girl who stole her son's love. I overheard her say exactly that to a friend one day at her place and getting silent when I entered the room. So, am I the bad one for postponing their visit? In my opinion, you've done nothing wrong here. This woman is clearly playing you both like a fiddle. Your boyfriend is the problem here. He needs to step up and take responsibility when inviting his parents. Stop letting your mother-in-law abuse you and set some clear boundaries. Tell her she's not allowed to snoop through your house and call her out on her abusive jokes. Am I the jerk for telling my boyfriend's boss he wasn't going into work the next day? I am going to start with a bit of background so that hopefully this makes some kind of sense. My boyfriend, let's call him Joe, and I work in the same store, which is a franchise. I have worked for this company and owner for 4 years, and my goal is to work my way up and eventually own one of these stores myself. A year ago, Joe and I moved to a new city when the owner I work for was moving to a bigger store and asked me to come with her. He started working for this store when we moved here because it was easier for scheduling as we also have a daughter together. Our store is currently undergoing a huge expansion. We are both part of the team setting up this new portion of the store. We both have our own small crew that we are in charge of, and we have a project manager, let's call him Paul, who comes from corporate. He oversees the whole project, ensures we meet our deadlines, and directs what we do. We work Monday to Friday from 6:00 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Our project manager usually comes in around 7:00 a.m. That usually leaves Joe and me completely in charge for the first hour of the day, which is no problem at all as the three of us have usually discussed the day prior what the priorities for the next day of work are. In addition to that, Paul will text Joe a list of tasks to get done for the day, and he then passes the information to me. With all that in mind, our problem starts here. Our crews are mostly made up of younger school and university students, from 15 years old to 18 years old. Most of them already worked in the store previously part-time. Joe had been having trouble with the kids on his crew as they did not really follow his direction, or when they did a subpar job, and he had to finish what they started. He got upset to the point where he decided on Thursday he just was not going to come to work the next day, Friday, because he did not want to deal with them. This leaves me in a tough spot because I am now responsible to instruct his crew on what to do the next morning, and I have no idea what they had been working on previously. On Thursday, Joe left work for the day. I stayed late to try and finish up what I was working on, but before I left, I went to do a walk around with Paul to see what the plan was for the next day, and I asked that he tell me what to do with the kids on Joe's crew, as he decided he was not coming in the next day. Paul then asked me for my phone number so that he could just text me the to-do list instead. I ended up telling Joe Saturday night that I told Paul he was not coming in, and he is now mad at me for being a snitch and saying that I have betrayed him and made him look foolish to our boss. He says he can no longer tell me anything because he does not trust me. So am I the jerk for telling our boss that he was not coming in instead of letting him call out pretending to be sick? You are not in the wrong. It sounds like your boyfriend needs to find himself another job. It's not your job to cover for him, especially when he doesn't communicate important information. He needs to learn how to manage people better. If he can't do that, then he shouldn't be a manager. Maybe he wanted to sleep in. Am I the jerk for not helping or supporting my mom financially when I have a lot of things to pay? Hi, I'm currently a 19-year-old female. I am a working student and live with my family. My mom and dad got divorced. My dad supports us, but it is not enough since we are a large family. This led me to start working in June 2023, and I also stopped school for a year. During that time, I was able to contribute financially to support my mom, even though I was unhappy about it because my hard-earned money was meant for my education. My mom promised to pay me back, but that never happened. Several things happened at my job, and I stopped working at my previous company in January 2024. I was unemployed and doing nothing, kind of helping my mom with her eatery for about 3 months. During this time, my mom pressured me a lot to get another job. In May 2024, I applied for jobs and fortunately succeeded. I am still giving my mom a part of my salary, but not as much since I am preparing to go back to school this year. There was one time when my mom told me not to go to school and instead provide my money to my siblings, who are currently enrolled. I have a 22-year-old male sibling, a 17-year-old male sibling, and a 13-year-old female sibling. I refused and enrolled myself. I provide for my tuition fee, school uniform, school supplies, and everything related to my school and work. I am also forced by my mom to pay for my 13-year-old sister's tuition fee. While I felt slightly good about helping my sister, I wanted to prioritize paying for my school first to avoid future problems. In August, my mom kept shouting at me, which affected my mental health. She was upset because I was unable to give her money, even though she previously said I did not have to contribute for a month. The reason I could not give her money was that I paid my debt to my sister and brother-in-law, who fixed my computer. I also needed to pay for my books, which cost at least 500 PHP, 25 USD. Each my ID, not included in my tuition fee, and my P uniform. This left me with only 2,000 PHP, 107 USD, and 15 days until my next paycheck, and I still need to go to school and work. For transparency, I have 4 other siblings, a 27-year-old female, a 22-year-old male, a 17-year-old male, and a 13-year-old female. My brother-in-law, who is 26 years old, is the one who fixes my computer. My 27-year-old sister is married and has a 1-year-old daughter. She supports our finances when she can, but not all the time, as she doesn't work and is a stay-at-home mom for my niece. My mom wanted her to be obligated to help with our finances and to get a job, since my brother-in-law only provides allowances to her. However, since my sister already has her own family and house, she has to prioritize her family first. You are not to blame. Your sister should get a part-time job to help pay for her own expenses, much as you are doing. It's reasonable to prioritize your own financial needs and well-being. Setting boundaries and managing your resources carefully is important. Would I be the a-hole for refusing to help the widow after my boss's sudden death? I was working in a small business. I really liked my boss. However, I really detested his wife. At lunch, we were expected to sit with her and she would hold court. She insulted my husband, my family, my town, and my friends many times. She also frequently demanded we employees do things for her, like arrange a return to Amazon. After these verbal assaults, she would apologize and sometimes give me insignificant gifts and praise me extravagantly. My wonderful boss died suddenly of a heart attack. The widow is claiming to be so overwhelmed with grief that she cannot manage to do even the simplest tasks. I have been called at all hours, weekends and evenings, with demands to drop everything and rush over to do something for her. I continued working for 6 weeks past the death of my boss to liquidate the business and ended up being her servant. One time, a relative came in needing some information, and she dissolved into tears, wailing about how she could not do this stuff in her time of grief. She asked if I could please do it. I started to leave and realized I had forgotten something, so I went back in to find her sitting calmly watching a detective drama. I really felt like she faked the display. I have not been paid since my boss's death. She says the accountant and lawyers handling the estate should handle it. The lawyer and accountant say she is the executor and must do it. She has also been selling off all the items in the business and all his personal items for cash, which she is putting in her own separate bank account. After yet another series of calls to come right over now and help her with something trivial, I refused as I had a prior family commitment. She replied by text saying she was very, very disappointed in me. She had been counting on me as her friend to help her. She needed my help. I really let her down. She said she would pray to Jesus to send her someone else since I am refusing to help her. I wrote back saying she needs to pray about Timothy 5:18, which states that a worker should be paid their wages. I had a family event. I had given her instructions on how to fix her problem herself. She replied with yet another long, rambling letter about how her anxiety is such that she cannot even try. She is so sorry I am upset. She is just as much a victim of this situation as I am. If I want to be paid, I should send a demand letter. I can just tell her to stop asking for the help she needs from me so much. I replied that I did not want her contacting me again for anything to do with her personal affairs. I have heard nothing since. The other employees and some of the people we know are upset with me for setting a limit on this woman in the midst of her terrible loss. They say I should just stop being petty and forget the money. They say I should be more understanding. They say I should help her. They make me feel guilty for being happy to be rid of her. Am I the asshole here? You did the right thing. It's clear that this woman is just taking advantage of your hard work and has no intention of paying you. This kind of support should come from her family and friends, not from you. Definitely start looking for a new job ASAP and maybe even consider suing the estate for back wages. Am I the jerk for deciding not to use my favorite name for my child that I always wanted because my sibling-in-law decided to use it for theirs? My husband and I, both 30 years old, welcomed our second baby into the world a few weeks ago. We had originally planned to give her a name that I've adored since childhood. However, my husband's sister had a baby girl and decided to give her daughter this name. It was surprising because she always preferred timeless names like Elizabeth, Emily, Emma, and Catherine. The name she chose, which is also my favorite girl name, is Serafina. A lot of people knew it was my favorite, and it was our girl name. When I was expecting our son, we had mentioned it would be our girl name. Even before having children, friends and family knew that was the name I adored. However, I was never fond of family members sharing the same first name. I know it happens and it is not the end of the world. Nobody owns a name, and in some families, it is very common for relatives to have the same first name. But I personally do not love it. So after my sister-in-law had her baby, we came up with another name for our daughter. My in-laws were surprised when my sister-in-law announced the name. Most people had expected her daughter to be named Emily because she talked about that name a lot. Serafina came from nowhere with her. When we announced our daughter's name after she was born, we were asked why we had chosen not to use Serafina. My husband explained that we had decided to go with something else during the pregnancy because we felt it was for the best. No specific reason was given, at least not that he brought up around me. However, his mom, other sister, and one of his brothers made comments to my sister-in-law about it being her fault. They said it was pretty clear our change came because she used the name we intended to use. My sister-in-law ended up fighting with her mom because it was always clear I was never her favorite person, and she accused her of doing it spitefully. This has come back around to me because my sister-in-law has now confronted me, saying I should have used the name too. She argued that I should not have let her get blamed for stealing a name when nobody can steal a name. I told her I never accused her of anything like that. She pointed out that everyone knew for years that I loved the name Serafina, and then all of a sudden, I finally have a girl and use a different name. This happened just after she also chose the name for her daughter. I told her we were entitled to change our minds just like she was. I also told her I do not have to answer to her. She responded that I created drama for no reason, and there was no way the idea to change came from her brother. It was clearly me who got upset over it. She told me to get over it and said there could have been two Serafinas. She also accidentally admitted she had been waiting for me to confront her about the name. She caught herself before finishing and went on about how I had changed the name to stir trouble and make her family turn on her. She also accused me of using the girls as pawns in this whole thing. Am I the antagonist? You are not the problem. Your sister-in-law sounds deranged and dug her own grave by choosing that name just to get one up on you. Of course, choosing a different name for your child was the best thing to do. Gray rock is the winning move, so just ignore her behavior. It's not worth getting into all this drama. Am I the jerk for not letting my sibling vent at me about their family troubles again? My brother is on the way to getting divorced, and he's also opening his eyes to the problems in his family. I let him vent a couple of times, but it felt like I was being vented at instead of to, and it also felt like there was a layer of blame being put on me that I didn't like. My brother was in a complicated relationship for approximately 10 years with Grace. They had a daughter together named Millie, who is 8 years old. When Millie was 5 years old, Grace died in a car accident. My brother was used to relying on Grace for all the day-to-day things with Millie, so he asked if I would step in and help him, and I did. Millie was at my house most of the time. I mentioned to my brother on a few occasions that Millie was having trouble coping with her mother's death, but he ignored me. About 16 months after Grace died, my brother told me he was dating someone else. He wanted me to tell Millie, and I told him he needed to be the one to tell her. He waited 3 or 4 months, and then decided it would be easier to have Steph move in with them. Of course, Millie didn't cope well with that either. Then Steph became pregnant, so my brother and Steph got married at the courthouse. Steph tried really hard to reach out to Millie and act as a parent to her. However, Millie was angry and lashed out at Steph a lot. My brother decided Millie shouldn't spend as much time with me because it would prevent her and Steph from getting closer. During Steph's pregnancy, she tried to get Millie excited about the baby. I think she was truly hoping Millie could accept her and the baby. I don't think she handled things perfectly, but I also think she was very unsupported by my brother, just like Millie was. Steph confided in me during the later stages of the pregnancy that she regretted getting involved with my brother and moving in because Millie hated her and was so mean. Once baby Lily was born, it was just a matter of time before Steph had enough. My brother was still leaving everything to Steph. Millie was still angry, lashing out, and rejecting Steph and Lily. It took Steph telling my brother she was so close to done for him to do anything, and they started therapy together. However, the longer they are in therapy, the more Steph wants to divorce. My brother doesn't want that. He's now realizing how much Millie is suffering too. She is angry and sad. He's paying attention to all the times she yells at Steph that she's not her mom and she wants her mom back. She says she feels like her mom was forgotten by almost everyone because she knows I haven't. My brother has vented about this to me a couple of times, and like I said, I feel vented at and like some blame is being put on me. On Thursday, he called and tried to start that conversation again after therapy. I cut him off and told him I wasn't going to listen to it again. I told him I'm not his therapist, and I refuse to take any blame for what happened. He told me I'm supposed to be his sister and that I should care about his feelings too. He accused me of abandoning him. Am I the antagonist? Nothing you have done here makes me think you are the jerk in the slightest. Your brother has done a great injustice to all three of you by ignoring Millie's needs and moving Steph in too soon. Blaming you for Millie's dislike of Steph because you listened to her when he wouldn't is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that he thought removing you from the picture would help is beyond comprehension. Millie needs your support now more than ever. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.